CA Ranjeet Kumar Agarwal, a practicing chartered accountant since last 20 years, a company secretary. He's also a company secretary, and he has got DISA from ICA, and he's a partner in NRSM and Associates since last 20 years. EIRC got the Best Regional Council Award under his chairmanship in the year 2013-14. He has been elected to the 23rd Central Council of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India for the term 2016-19 and re-elected for the term 2019-21. Last year, being chairman of the Professional Development Committee of ICI, implemented bank branch audit software, conceptualized and implemented UDIN as chairman of PDC, a landmark reform of ICI. Presently, convener of group constituted to implement UDIN concept in all SAARC countries. As chairman of Ethical Standards Boards of ICI in 2019, revised the Code of Ethics after a gap of 10 years. Currently, convener of UDIN Directorate, chairman of Capital Market and Investor Protection Committee, chairman of Tax Audit Quality Review Board. With this brief prelude, let me invite C. Ranjeet Kumar Agarwal for the session, and over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Secretary Cherian G. Samuel, Secretary of this branch, for the nice word. Chairman of this branch, Anil Parameswaram, and my very senior and very dear friends in the council, Babu Abraham. The one thing I must say about Babu Abraham, that I have seen the day I entered in the council from the chairman of the Board of Studies, then I have seen him the FRRB chairman, then I have seen him in the chairman of the membership export of CA service, and he is the person who has not only instrumental in whatever Board of Study new syllabus you are seeing. He was the first chairman of this institute in BOS, which new syllabus has been implemented, and champion sector accounting is one of the champion sector of the government of India, and he has spearheaded this service to the outside world. That's why a new committee was formed, export of CA service, and he was the chairman at that committee also, and he is also instrumental in that committee of member in public service since last 2 years. So a lot of learning I have got, Mr. Babu, the kind of commitment and this coming from a very small place and rising to this level, and the loyalty and the commitment towards institute is unparalleled. So I must salute Babu sir for your kind service to the profession, and I have learned many things from Babu sir in the council, and still learning, So thank you very much, Babu sir, for coming.
Thank you, Ranjeet bhai, for the nice words.
And since the last 1/4 century, 4 years, I may think he is serving the institute since the branch level to the central council. So huge time he is coming committed towards the profession. So thank you very much, Babu sir, for your hard work and commitment. Now coming to this code of ethics, let me share my screen. Is it coming to the screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So, friends, this is a very important topic, and rightly you have chosen this topic. Normally, code of ethics we have read when the green color books we got while passing the CA examination, and most of us we never open that book unless some issues are coming. So now the kind of complexity is coming. Everybody has to open this green color book, and there is no any choice. Now it's a mandatory. So what we will discuss in this code of ethics, what are the existing some provision, what are the some new provision highlights of that, and then we will discuss how the profession is going forward with this new code of ethics. So as a member of the institute, whomsoever is the member, he has to comply all this regulation, CA Act, regulation, accounting standard, guidance note, technical guide, council guideline, and the most important part of this guideline is the code of ethics. So let me tell you, code of ethics is the council guideline. So whenever you have the council guideline, you have to follow it. So as Babu sir rightly said, 1963, this code of conduct was introduced when the president was C.R.C. Cooper. And in his opening remark in the council in 1963, he has said that in the larger interest of the institute, the council exhorts all members to search their hearts and concise whenever in doubt, and thereby assist towards the maintenance of high principles of professional conduct and established by the council. It does not mean that earlier we don't follow the code of ethics. Code of ethics is in our DNA. Since Mahabharata, Ramayana days, everybody is following the code of ethics. But the institute thought after 1949 that somehow some conduct should be formulated in black and white for the reference and for the practicing member. So that's why in 1963, this code of ethics, which was called Code of Conduct, was introduced. As a code of ethics is a state of mind. The code of ethics says in our various pronouncement that whenever you are confronted with the two situations, something is ethical but not legal, and even if something is legal but not ethical, then we as a member are not promoted, are not authorized to go forward of this conduct. So even if something is legal and not ethical, then we should not go ahead and follow those conduct. This is the fundamental principle of in our code of ethics, which is written in this books. Ethics is lawful, but at the same time it's awful. And how these professionals are distinguished from the rest of the people, number one is the ethics, and number two is the professionals are not necessarily working towards the personal gain. The stakeholders gain, the society, the government, the regulators gain are utmost importance, and the personal gains takes the second seat. That's why professionals has been interested with the code of ethics and to work towards the welfare of the stakeholder, and that's why they are called professionals and not the businessmen. So these code of ethics and the working towards the not for the personal gain, these are the two fundamental traits which distinguish a person being a professional to the rest of the people of this country. As Babu sir very rightly said, Code of Conduct 1963 first time it was started, then 2001 it was revised, and it was also renamed as a Code of Ethics, and then 2009, which is the current Code of Ethics, is there. First time it was aligned with our International Code of Ethics. As you might be aware, there is a IFAC, International Federation of Accountants, in which Institute of Chartered Accountants is a founder member, and they have also one ethical standard board like ICI has, and those international ethics we have aligned first time of 2005. And after this 13 year, this year, we have revised our code of ethics, and 2018 International Code of Ethics, we have aligned with our National Code of Ethics. So after a gap of 13 years, the Indian Code of Ethics has been aligned with the International Code of Ethics. Yeah, when we go through the Code of Ethics of India, we find that many provisions in this Code of Ethics are more stringent than the International Code of Ethics. Like statutory auditor cannot become the internal auditor. Contingent fees are not allowed with some exceptions. We have our management consultancy service. We have our advertisement guideline. We have our website guideline. All these provisions are nowhere exist in the International Code of Ethics, which is followed by 130 country accounting body of the world. So many times we feel pride that Institute of Chartered Accountant Code of Ethics are more stringent than International Code of Ethics. And one more important point would like to highlight that in 1975, first time Institute has set up this Ethical Standard Board of India. And after a gap of 1 year in 1976, International Ethical Standard Board was set up by the International Federation of Accounting. So in Code of Ethics or fundamental principle, India is always ahead with the rest of the world. And as I told you, non-compliance of this Code of Ethics is a council guideline, and non-compliance of this Code of Ethics will attract professional misconduct as per Part 2, Schedule 2 and Clause 1. I called it 221. Schedule 2, Part 2, Clause 1, which says the non-compliance, non-adherence of this code will attract professional misconduct. Globally, in all 130 country accounting body, the Code of Ethics are based on 5 fundamental principles: integrity, objectivity, professional competence, due care, confidentiality, and professional behavior. These are the 5 fundamental principle foundation on which entire our Schedule 1, Schedule 2, Institute of Chartered Accountant Act 1949, all these are based. So globally also these 5 principles play a vital role. As far as Schedule 1 is concerned, we have 4 parts, and all these parts has comprise 19 clauses. And the major fundamental principle of Schedule 1 is that whatever misconduct are happening within the fraternity, like one member is not complying with the other members' prerogative, like non-communication with the members, or solicitation, advertisement, taking non-member as a member, whatever misconduct are in Schedule 1 related to the misconduct related to within the fraternity. And as far as Schedule 2, which has 15 clauses, which talks about the misconduct which are affecting outside the fraternity, various stakeholder, government, all these things. So these are the fundamental difference between Schedule 1 and 2, that Schedule 1 talks about the misconduct within the fraternity, and Schedule 2 talks about misconduct outside the fraternity. And there are penal provision and all these things in Schedule 1. As per Section 21A of the C Act, there is a Board of Discipline which talks about that if you are doing any act which are affecting the fraternity within inside, then these are the professional misconduct, like sharing of fees or partnership with the non-member, solicitation, advertisement, and commission and percentage basis. All these things are affecting the profession inside. So the Board of Discipline, 3-member bench having 2 council member, 1 government nominee, with their wisdom, they have 3 measures. Either they can reprimand, or maximum 3 months penal provision, or 1 lakh penal monetary penalty. Based on the wisdom of this 3-member bench or Board of Discipline, decide the misconduct as per Schedule 1. And as far as Schedule 2 is concerned, this Section 20 talks about a 5-member bench. It's a larger bench than Schedule 1. 3 council member and 2 government nominee. Babu sir has almost every year I have seen one bench or other bench part of this schedule disciplinary committee or Board of Discipline in last 5 years. So the misconduct related to professional duty or grossly negligent, or they have not reported the material departure or false information in the audit report, all these things which are affecting the stakeholder are covered in Schedule 2, and the disciplinary committee has the wisdom to reprimand or permanently remove the members. Twice in the past happened in 2 occasions, members were permanently removed from the ICI records, and 5 lakh penal provision. So these are the fundamental principles between Schedule 1 and 2, and these 19 plus 15, 34 clauses are dealt in our Code of Ethics. So what is our Code of Ethics? Code of Ethics is a commentary on these 34 clauses, how we are going to implement, what are the non-compliances. All these things are described in detail in our Code of Ethics. As international practice, if you see, and those who have seen the NFRA order of this is published on the NFRA website, in which while dealing with the review of the one of the audit firm in India which has audited the ILFS, in this order if you go through, then you will find how this order is so important, that International Code of Ethics, Indian Code of Ethics, this all kind of threats and schedule and the provision, how they have beautifully summarized and applied when the auditors has not performed their duty while complying all this provision. So these threats, we will discuss some point on these threats. There are 5 kinds of threat which are affecting our profession, that is self-interest threat, self-review threat, advocacy, familiarity, and intimidation. So when you are quoting a fees which are lower in such a way that you are not able to justify the compliance of the various accounting and auditing standards while discharging your duty as an accountant, then this is a self-interest threat, because you are aware this fees I will not do justice, still you are quoting the fees. So this is a self-interest threat. You have purchased a property jointly with your client, then this is also a case of self-interest threat. You have given loan or taken loan from your client, these are also a case of self-interest threat. Or you have a 20-30 years close relations, 20 years you are auditing a client. Now you and your family and client family going together in holiday. So these are the some of the examples has been given in our Code of Ethics. We say if these situations are there, then you are not being independent while discharging your duty. So you have to take care of all these self-interest threats. How to mitigate these threats, we will discuss later. Then there are self-review threat. Now this point, if you have developed some software for a client, and now the reports generated through those software, you are the auditing those books of account, then this is also a case of self-review threat. So you have developed something, the reports are generated through that software, and now you yourself are auditing the reports generated by those software. These are the case of self-review threat. When advocacy threat we talk, if any section or provision of the act, your client is affected, and you are approaching the government or the legislator through your contact and source there to remove that particular section or provision so that your client can be benefited, then this is the case of advocacy threat. When the institute or association represent to the government, this is a different issue. You as an auditor are approaching to the legislature for removing some section which are affecting your client. These are the case of self-advocacy threat. Then the familiarity threat talks about you are auditor of a company and your spouse is a CEO or in a very senior position which are affecting the decision of that company. Suppose your partner, ex-partner has resigned from your firm and have joined a company, and now you want to be the auditor of that company, and that ex-partner is in a senior position which are affecting the decision of that company. This is also a case of familiarity threat. Various occasions like Holi, Deepavali, birthday, anniversary. I think some noises are coming. Okay, so this in a birthday or anniversary, you are accepting some gifts from your client, and the value of that gifts are very substantial. Then this is also a case of familiarity threats. Then intimidation threat, suppose you have accepted the gifts on anniversary and the birthday from the client where the amount is substantial, and now the client is saying that if you qualify the report, I will make it public that you have accepted some gift from me. So this is the case of the intimidation threat. You are going to the bank branch audit, and the bank manager is saying, if you qualify this account, if you make this account NPA, then the higher level pressure is coming and you will not get the audit, this, that. These are also the cases of intimidation threat. Then suppose you are an auditor of a company and the client is saying, if you qualify the report, then I will not give you the other non-audit service function which are allowed as per ICI Act. So these are the cases of the intimidation threat. And what are the safeguard of these 5 kinds of threat? The safeguard in our code of ethics says, either you try to eliminate or reduce this threat to an acceptable level, or you can take the services of your institute, professional body, or if all these safeguards fail, then you have no option than withdraw from the assignment. So what is the role of the auditor in these kind of situations? We try our level best to reduce this threat to that acceptable level. Like I'm giving one example, like SQC1. Now SQC1 says this standard of quality control 1 is pronounced by the ICI in 2009, which says if you are a auditor of a listed company, then more than 7 years you cannot be the auditor of that company. So that does not mean you have to resign from the company. The SQC1 says after 7 years, your another partner can be the audit partner of that company for next 2 years. You have to escape yourself or excuse yourself for 2 years after 7 years. And from 10th year again, you can be the audit partner of that company or this. So these are the safeguard also and the standards also in SQC1. So how to deal with this situation? This is the moral responsibility of the member. Everything cannot be in black and white. Institute has formulated the principles. These are the threats. So how to reduce this threat? This is the duty of the members to follow. As you might be aware that as far as this rotation is concerned, 139(2) Companies Act talks about a rotation of 5 year and 10 year, 5 year for partner, 10 year for firm. Then we have central statutory audit, branch audit rotation is there for 4 year or 3 year as per RBI norms. Then we have a rotation by housing finance company, by housing development boards. Then we have SEBI guideline, which talks about while dealing with the stock broker, mutual fund broker, you as an auditor has to take some cooling off for 2 years. Then we have employees provident fund scheme guideline, which also talk about cooling off for some period for auditor. Then SQC1, as I told you right now, after 7 years, if you are the auditor of a listed company, after 7 years, you cannot do the audit of that company for next 2 years. And in those 2 years, your other partner can very well do the audit. You yourself has to excuse from being the audit partner of that company. But if you are a proprietorship concern, then these are not applicable to the individual and proprietorship concern. But if you are a proprietorship concern and you want to do the listed company audit, then as per SEBI guideline, you have to get your firms peer reviewed. So peer review guideline is there, where listed company audit peer review is mandatory. We have another guidance note by ICI which talks about that independence of auditor. And in this guidance note, it says if you are an auditor of a government company which has been appointed by the CAG, RBI or such other regulator, then after demitting the statutory auditor of that company, next 1 year, you cannot do any non-audit function of that company. So in the case of a statutory auditor of a company where CAG appointed you, RBI appointed you, so next 1 year, you cannot do any internal audit or any management consultancy or any system audit work of that company. But vice versa is allowed. If you are doing the internal audit of that company, then next year you can be the statutory auditor. There is no bar in that. As Babu sir rightly said, now we will discuss what are the new provision is our new code of ethics. Earlier, we have Code of Ethics 2009 talks about part 1 and part B. Part 1 talks about the international perspective, the principle based international provisions, and the part B talks about the domestic provision. This year, what we have done, we have converted part A into the volume 1. So now the volume 1 talks about whatever the international alignment we have done with our code of ethics, those provisions are mentioned in part 1, volume 1. And the volume 2 talks about the whatever the domestic provisions, basically it's a compilation of the various pronouncement of the council or committee decision, council decision, guidance note, which will help our members to perform their duty. So basically it's a compilation of the domestic provision. So it's called volume 2. And the first time we have made volume 3, which talks about the various pronouncement made by the council, by disciplinary committee till 2019, 1949 to 2019, the important case law we have identified and we have put in this referencer, and this case law has been segregated by heading, by clauses, and by various subjects. So suppose you want to know what are the professional misconduct while non-paying the stipend to the article. So if you can search this line, then the whatever decision has been given by the council so far as per a stipend to the article is concerned, you can at glance find 20-30 cases. And if you go through these 20 cases, you will find what is the opinion of the council in these kind of situation. So accordingly, you can take your call. So this will help you as a very guiding tool on your table. Whenever you are taking any decision, you can also refer what is the opinion of the institute in this regard. So this will help you to plan or to conduct your very smoothly by making any further mistakes. The first very effective, important provision of this new code of ethics is there. Already it was there, but it was not expressly written in our code. So now we have written in this code of ethics that if you are assisting your client in the various routine or mechanical work which are not affecting the opinion or which are not affecting the professional judgment or based on the historical data, then these kind of services you can very well provide to your clients. Like suppose you are the auditor of a company and now you want to file the GST return, you want to file the income tax return, you want to file the ROC return, you want to file the TDS return. So all these things now you are very well authorized, or you are allowed to perform these functions based on with the consent of the client, because you are just compiling these data and uploading with the consent of the client. No professional judgment is there, and your personal opinion is not there. Whatever client is giving, you are compiling and uploading. So all these services, although income tax and all these things we were doing, but now expressly we have written in our code of ethics that these kind of services are allowed to our member. So this will help you, our large number of SME members, to do all these services in addition to the audit service you are doing. So this is the welcome steps we have taken. Taxation service, some provision, new provision has come, like if you are a auditor of a listed company, which we call it public interest entity, then the valuation work you are not allowed to do, and you are also not allowed to like represent your client when the disputed amount is very substantial to the authority before courts, and the amount in middle. So before court we have defined beyond NCLT. So NCLT and beyond you cannot, otherwise also we are not allowed to represent. But since this provision was there, but because of the pandemic, this provision has been deferred. So now whatever taxation service you are giving to your client, that is very much allowed, and you can continue. Then we have a new provision which talks about if you are a fees from your audit client exceeds 15% of the total fees of your firm of the last 2 consecutive years, then in those situations, this fact you are supposed to disclose to the management from whom you are accepting an audit assignment, or those charged with the governance. So this was a disclosure requirement which a member has to disclose while accepting the audit from a client, where the fees of that client is in excess of the 15% of the total fees of your firm of the last 2 consecutive years. There were some exceptions also. 5 lakh rupees not applicable, government company audit, nationalized bank, public financial institutions were not applicable with these provisions. But because of this pandemic also, this provision has been deferred. Now coming to the NOCLA, as most of the member might be aware, in 2009 institute has come out with a SA 250 which talks about laws and regulation in audit of the financial statement, how a auditor should perceive various compliance of the laws and regulation. But now this NOCLAR, which talks about the non-compliance with laws and regulation, when you are, if you are an auditor of a listed company and it is applicable to only audit assignment, and it says in course of audit, if you come across any non-compliance of the other laws and provision which are not in your scope of the work, but still you have encountered those non-compliances, then it is your duty to report these facts to the management. So now this NOCLAR is applicable to listed entity and various non-compliance, like suppose there are insider trading, environmental lapses are there, some fraud has happened, money laundering, all these provisions which you have encountered while doing the audit, then these facts you are duty bound to report to the management. This was the NOCLAR provision starting with the listed company this year, but because of this pandemic again this provision has also been deferred for the time being. So these are the 3 types of new provision which we are supposed to bring in new code of ethics, which we have deferred for the time being. Now a very important provision in this our new code of ethics has come, that is called documentation. This KYC, know your client, which are already effective as per council guideline of January 2017, which talks about the checklist of the whereabouts of your client, the details, and that should be the first page of your audit working paper file, which talks about the various detail of your client. Because today you are an auditor, after 5 years you may not be the auditor, and after 5 years the client has done some fraud, then you are also will be asked to explain how do you know that client, what you have done, all this, that client, because at that point of time you may not be the auditor, but the regulator may ask you your explanation also. So if you have the KYC, know your client, then it will help you to explain your positions to the regulator. So that's why 2017, the institute has come out with KYC guideline, and this is very mandatory for every auditor to be kept in the first page as a audit working paper file. Now this new code of ethics, there was not much about the documentation in our 2009 code of ethics. In this new code of ethics, the provision says after the every end of the every provision, you will find a separate paragraph of documentation in each chapter, and this paragraph talks about while doing the audit of a client, you have to document all the facts in your audit working paper file. What are the facts? Suppose, what are the facts of that audit? What are the accounting standards, auditing standards applicable to those clients? What are the communication you have made with the client, and how the issues has been redressed while communicating those issues, that and how you have addressed, and how this accountant tried to address those issues. All these facts you are supposed to mention in this documentation paragraph in your audit working file for every client separately. Every client, all these facts you are duty bound to mention. Earlier this provision was not there, now it has come from July 20. What is happening, sir? In our institute, what I have seen, 72% are the proprietorship firm, and 27% firms are less than 10 partners. So literally 99% firms are less than 10 partners. So we do lot of audit, but documentation we fail. In big firm or a large firm, they do 20% audit and 80% documentation. In our case, we do 80% audit, 20% documentation. So these are the lacuna, these are the gaps. We are not able to present our case whenever any inquiry or any problem comes. So now, because of the complex environment we are living, so many regulations are coming and changing every day. Whenever you are doing any attest function, these facts and the documentation, it is required to be maintained. So that's why it's a welcome step, and every member has to follow these things in a very bona fide way. Resignation of auditor, a new provision has come, like clause 8 part 1 schedule 1 talks about communication with the previous auditor. Now a new provision has been added in our new code of ethics, which says that suppose you have resigned from a company and the incoming auditor has written you that please explain what are the non-compliance in this company of which you were the auditor last year. And if you have received something in writing from the incoming auditor, then you as a retiring auditor is duty bound to provide all the information to the incoming auditor diligently. So if you are aware that some non-compliance is there in that company and you have resigned, because you now suppose you are saying I have resigned because of personal reason, and the MCA is also issuing a letter, please explain why you have resigned, if you are an auditor of a listed company. So in the same line, this new paragraph has been added that you are duty bound to explain to the incoming auditor if any non-compliance you are aware while being the auditor. Now you cannot say I don't know. If you know, then you have to explain to the incoming auditor. This is a very important provision which has come in our code of ethics because of the various resignation happening across the country, and this will bound our retiring auditor to explain the reason of this resignation to the incoming auditor also, in addition to the SEBI and the MCA is writing you the letter. We have also made it mandatory now. One more option has been added while communicating with the previous auditor for NOC. So suppose you are now registered AD, personal delivery of the letter is allowed. Now email, a registered email ID, if you are making a communication with the previous auditor and that previous auditor respond in that mail, then the valid communication has been done. This has been mentioned in our new code of ethics in this clause, clause 8. We have also taken permission from the council that in a future also we are in the process to make a guideline. Communication through the UDIN portal, how it will work, how you can communicate with the previous auditor. we are in the process to deliberation. So once the guideline will be framed, then we will come to the council and get it passed. But communication with the email is allowed. Communication through UDI in the process, which we can allow later. So this is a very important change or a development which you must aware. Then because of this 2009 code, when it was implemented, advertisement guideline came in 2009, and that point of time this social media was not so active. So now to have some level playing field, we have relaxed many provisions of the advertisement guideline, which are effective from 1st of July 2020. So what are those changes? Suppose now in a presentation, I am giving a presentation, my PPT says CA Ranjeet Agarwal. I have not written my firm name. So before July, it was not allowed. Now I can also write my firm name in addition to my name while in giving any seminar, lecture, or any PPT, number one. If you are in TV debates, social media debate, Facebook debates, so you can also mention your firm name in addition to your name, which was not allowed earlier. Now we have allowed you. So all these things, this firm name, which was restrictive in nature in earlier, now we have opened it up, and the members can also mention their firm name. They can refer their firm name also. You as an individual CA can also have your YouTube channel, and in this YouTube channel you can disseminate the various knowledge sharing session, various provision, act provision, all this thing to the fraternity at large. This YouTube channel cannot be in your firm name, it can be in your personal name, and you can give the lecture, you can do whatever dissemination in that YouTube channel. But there are some rider, we have pull mode and push mode criteria in our code of ethics, which says this advertisement cannot, you cannot go and share the link of your channel to the various social media site. Please come and visit my channel. That is not permissible. But you can have your channel. If somebody wants to come, fine. But you yourself cannot invite to please come and visit this channel. So with this rider, YouTube channels are allowed to our member. Social media aggregators, like we have our directory guidelines are there. Some social media like Urban Club and all these things, they are listing our members also in addition to sweeper, plumber, electrician, all these things. So we have taken a conscious call in these kind of aggregator, social media aggregator, our members cannot list themselves. But we have our directory guideline in which the provisions are there. In the directory guideline, whether physically or social media or electronic or digital guide directory, our members can list themselves, but with some restrictions are there. It should be city wise, the name has to be alphabetical, undue prominence cannot be given, it should not be paid services. All these things, the guidelines are there, so you can go through that. Right now, you as a CA can mention your name, your firm name, your proprietor's name, that is allowed. You are also allowed to mention the diploma that you have received from the institute, like DISA or a diploma in international taxation, you can mention. But the certificate course you are doing from the institute are not permitted to be mentioned in your visiting card or a stationery. This was not allowed. But this year, if you are a registered valuer or if you are an insolvency professional, then in addition to these issues, you can also write you are an insolvency professional and registered valuer. So these two nomenclature, in addition to diploma course, has also been allowed to the members to be write on their visiting cards or a stationery. Now you want to sponsor some any CSR event. So sponsoring of CSR event is allowed, but it is not, it cannot be in your firm name, it will be in your individual name. And the logo guideline, whatever logo guideline is there, that will be applicable here. So in your individual name, CA so and so, you can also do the CSR activity in that fashion, but not in the name of the firm. So this is also a decision we have taken. But if you go to the advertisement guideline in detail, where website guideline, advertisement guideline, logo guideline, all these things, so many places we have made substantial changes which will ease for ease of doing profession. It is not ease of doing business, but ease of doing profession for the benefit of our members. There are 3-4 major points I would like to also highlight in our deliberation. How many of you are aware that we have a provision called corporate form of practice? You cannot be a director in a business company or non-professional company, but whether you can be a managing director or a whole-time director in that company, no. You can be a director simpliciter or independent director or non-executive director in any non-professional company. But Institute in 2006 comes out with a corporate form of practice, which means that you can apply to form a company, and that the company name approval has to be given by the ICI first. And the name approval will be as per the regulation 190 of the CA regulation, which is allowed as for the name approval of the CA firm and the proprietorship and partnership firm. The same guideline applicable for naming of this corporate form of practice by ICI. Once the name is approved, then the object clause of that company will say to deal with the management consultancy service as per section 224 of the CA Act. And we have 27 services in management consultancy list, which you can mention there. Then the director of that company has to be mandatory practicing chartered accountant. It can be either from your firm, from any other firm, but all the director of that company has to be practicing CA only. And the shareholder of that company has to be director and their relatives. So if you satisfy these 4 conditions, then you can very well form a company, and in that company you can all do the management consultancy service as prescribed by the section 224. Like you can do the insolvency work, you can do the valuation work, you can do the forensic work, whatever non-audit service are there is allowed to be done in that corporate form of practice. So in your visiting card or stationery, you can say, I am the partner of XYZ LLP, and I am the managing director of XYZ Private Limited. So all these 2 conditions you are allowed to mention if you are a managing director whole time of this corporate form of practice. So it is very much allowed by the institute. Most of the members are not aware. So that's why I thought this point should be made aware to you. Then we have tendering guideline. In 2016, the institute has come out with the tender guideline, which talks about, suppose you are the statutory auditor of which the only auditor you can be appointed as per various statute. So those audit where only chartered accountants can be appointed as per the legislation of this country, like tax audit, company audit. In those kind of audit, if the minimum fees is not there in the tender document, then you as a auditor are not supposed to respond to those tenders. So if you respond, then it is a professional misconduct. But if those kind of services which can be performed by any other person in addition to chartered accountant, like advocate or like cost auditor or a company secretary, or anybody can do in addition to CA. So CA are not only specifically authorized, others professionals are also eligible to conduct those audit. So in those kind of services, minimum fees criteria is not applicable. So minimum fees criteria applicable only those services which are compulsory reserved for the chartered accountant as per statute. And in those services, if the minimum fees is not there, you are not supposed to respond. We have seen the Manrega audit, Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan, DRD audit, 100, 500, 1,000 rupees members are quoting. So that's why in this new code of ethics, we have also added one more line, that these minimum fees which are supposed to be mentioned by the auditee has to commensurate with the size, volume, manpower requirement of that entity. So that minimum fees criteria has to be fixed by the auditee as per the scope of the work he wants to get it done from CA. Because many cases we have seen the regulator are mentioning ₹1 or ₹5 as a minimum fees, just to flaws this regulation and this taking loopholes of this provision. So one line we have added this year, the minimum fees has to be commensurate with the size, volume and manpower requirement of that project. So this is the tender guideline. Networking guideline, we are in the process to redesign, reframe. It is under consideration. It will be announced later. Then 2006, we have come out, our forefather and the senior member and the past president, their wisdom was there at that point of time. And I appreciate that wisdom, because in 2006, they have seen the world is going to be complex. And that's why multidisciplinary will be the need of the hour in the days to come. So 2006, we have our enabling provision, 53(b) of the CA regulation, which talks about a chartered accountant can also do the partnership with 6 other kind of professional, cost accountant, company secretary, advocate, architect, all these things. They have defined 6 kind of professional which you can do the partnership. But since 2006, we have enabling provision, but it is not coming to the limelight, not seeing the limelight of the day, because the other professionals are not amending their regulation, and that's why notification is not coming in this regard. So we have our enabling provision 2006. Since 2006, a multidisciplinary should be there. Institute of Chartered Accountant member can do partnership with CS, costing account, advocate, architect, engineer. These provisions are there. But since other professionals are not amending their guideline, these provisions are not coming into the force, and that's why it is not notified so far. So these are the important provision. The last provision I would like to mention here, that other misconduct. The Institute of Chartered Accountant Act 1949 talks about the professional misconduct through 2 schedules, Schedule 1 and Schedule 2. But there is another section in our act which talks about कि in addition to the professional misconduct, this section also attract the misconduct done in your personal life, in your social life. So suppose you have forged the will of your relative, there is no any professionalism is there, but the institute says since you are a professional, then you have to behave professionally. You cannot say, yeah, I have not done anything as a professional, it is my personal, or it is my personal in nature. Institute has no locus standi on this. No, the institute says if you are a professional, you are a member of the institute, then your entire conduct, your life, your personal life, your social life will also be regulated by the institute. And that's why if you have forced the will of a relative, then it is also a other misconduct as per section 22. If you have not followed the Ministry of Home Affairs guideline in this lockdown, or you are not behaving professionally in the social media, all these provisions are also attracted as per section 2 of this act. So in addition to what you are doing professionally, your other misconduct also talks about your social and personal commitment. So these are the some of the highlights of our new code of ethics and existing code of ethics. New code of ethics, 2-3 new provision has come, 2-3 has been deferred, but we have tried our best to make these code of ethics in line with the international code of ethics, and various relaxation has been given in the advertisement guideline, website guideline. Social media has also been incorporated. So now suppose you have a website guideline, so whatever content you are mentioning in the website, same you can also open your social media account, Twitter account, Facebook account in the name of the firm also. So these relaxation we have also given. YouTube channel is also allowed with some restriction. Of course, regulation has to be there, as the name says, code of conduct or code of ethics. So ethically we have to behave, but the institute cannot put everything in black and white. The code of ethics itself says you have to decide your course ethically at your own will. Everything cannot be regulated in black and white. So whenever we as a professionals are doing our duty, we must see what we are doing. We have to ask our heart what we are doing is ethical or not. Even if something, the institute has gone to that extent, even if something is allowed, illegal, but if it is not ethical, then we should not go ahead in that provision. So these are the some of the highlights of this, our code of ethics. We can take the question answer also if the members so desire. So thank you very much for your patience listening. Thank you very much. Yes, sir. I'm done.
Dear members, this is a question and session. Ranjeet ji will be answering your questions. I'm going to unmute all so that you can come forward and ask questions to Ranjeet sir.
Good morning, sir. I'm Pankaj Govind, Chartered Accountant. I just want to ask you, and I just want to congratulate you first for an excellent presentation. We had a very good overview and understanding of the whole code of ethics. Very sharply and nicely you have presented. And I just want to ask you one question. If you're publishing an article ID, is it permitted?
You can lower the volume. You can lower the
Can you
volume
repeat the question, sir?
and repeat the question.
Yeah. See, if you are publishing an article in a daily, and at the end of that, can you give your official email ID or personal firm email ID, or is it necessary that you should confine yourself to personal email ID?
No, in an article in daily newspaper or a daily,
Yeah.
your personal ID is allowed, firm ID is not allowed.
Not allowed. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
I am Padmanabhan. Sir, in the minimum audit fee requirement of the tendering process, isn't it required that they should also consider the previous year audit fee also? It should not go below that.
No, as far as this minimum fees is concerned, it has to be mentioned by the auditee. So what we are saying, the minimum fees has to be mentioned by the auditee, and what should be the minimum fees that he has to design, that has to be commensurate with the size, volume, value of the work. That is number one. But you as a auditor cannot respond if the minimum fees is not there, number one, and you cannot respond lower than the what is minimum fees is there. Both the conditions are there. So below that minimum fees, no way. And if minimum fees is not there, you cannot respond. And that is applicable to only statutory audit. Internal audit or other stock audit or other non-audit function is not applicable.
So can't this be given to the auditee's responsibility that also should be considered while they are publishing the minimum fee?
Definitely they should consider. And if wherever some problem are there, it is brought to our notice. We are representing to the authority also. In last every year, PDC has represented to many authority, and they have revised the tender also.
Okay.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I have a doubt regarding the management consultancy firm.
Okay.
Is it compulsory that we should form a company, or can it be possible that it is an LLP?
No, both. Company, firm, LLP, all three constitutes are allowed.
Partnership firm is allowed for management consultancy.
Partnership firms are also allowed, but there are some restrictions, riders are there. You cannot be if you are a partner of a firm, you cannot be the partner of non-professional firm. But you can be the partner of this firm, which is called, approved by the ICI as per the corporate form of practice.
So initially, we need to, before starting the company or firm or LLP, we need to get the name approved from the ICI.
Yes. On the same line, that the name will be given on the same line which you are getting name approval for your firm in your CA firm or proprietorship firm. The acronyms and everything as per regulation 190, same process will be applicable.
Sir, I am Pankaj Govind again. So if you are having a partnership firm and a consultancy company, I suppose it is in order that the partners render professional service for the company and charge a fee. There's nothing wrong in that. It continues the same way.
But a partner of the firm has done the consult to the same company where you are director.
Yeah.
Not possible.
It's not possible.
No, that is not allowed. Not possible, not allowed.
An audit firm consisting of partners forms a consultancy company, and partners of these firms who are directors there in the company cannot render professional services. Not allowed. Not allowed.
You have not understood the provision. The provision says that you can be an auditor of a firm,
Yeah.
a company as a firm. But if you want to do the non-audit service, not of the same firm, to any other firm, that can be done through this corporate form of practice.
No, you did not understand my question, sir. What I had asked you was, a partnership firm is setting up a private limited company, consultancy company. It is engaging the partners of the firm for doing professional work and compensating them for the work done. Is it possible? Company is engaging the partners of the firm for doing professional work for the company, consultancy work.
Same company, you are the auditor and you are doing the non-consultancy work also. Same company.
No, sir. Suppose Verma and Verma is there. Verma and Verma forms a Verma and Verma Consulting Private Limited.
Yes.
No, Verma and Verma Consulting Private Limited does not have any professional employees. The partners of Verma and Verma render the professional services for the company and take a fee. Is it permissible?
That is permissible.
That is
permissible because sharing of fees between the members are allowed.
That's what I ask you. Thank you.
That is allowed.
Sir, I'm Sridhar here.
Yes.
Sir, the name allowed by the institute may not be sometime approved by the ROC. In what circumstance?
In that case, you have to come back to the institute again.
Okay.
Because till the institute approve your name, it cannot be registered with the ROC. That is the first condition of this regulation.
True, but the condition of ROC accepting it, there is no linkage between institute and the ROC.
No linkage.
If that is established before the institute sanctioning this name, if it can be established in institute level with the ROC, things would be much better. This may just a suggestion.
How it is possible, sir? We have to align our portal with the ROC portal that the government will not permit us.
Can be done, and as an institute, if it is possible, it will be better so that it is not multiplied.
No, I got your point,
sometimes
but
there may be common names of firms.
No, I got your point, sir. I appreciate your suggestion, but practically, I feel the ROC MCA portal will has to be aligned with our institute portal, which the government will not permit, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Sir?
Yes.
If the auditor is also a registered valuer under IBBI, can he give the registration evaluation certificates in that valuer's registration number, or he should only sign as a chartered accountant?
No, he can do the auditor. The auditor who is doing the audit of a company, can also do the valuation work that is allowed. But now this new code of ethics, which has been deferred for, if you are an auditor of a listed company, then you cannot do the valuation work of that company. So which has been deferred now. But if you are doing an audit of a company and you also want to do valuation work, so that is also permissible. If the valuation is as per the Valuation Act, Registered Valuer Act, then that valuation certificate has to be given as a registered valuer, not as a chartered accountant.
Yes, but same company, you can be an auditor and a valuer together.
Allowed.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, Pankaj Govind again. Sir, if you are having an additional degree like LLB, can you print it in your visiting card?
No, not allowed.
You cannot print it?
Not you. Barring chartered accountant, no other degree is permitted to be allowed.
It cannot be printed in the visiting card.
If the institute has recognized your degree, like suppose I am the company secretary also,
Yeah.
and I have taken permission from the institute to do the additional course as per form 112, then I can write ACA and ACS.
Yeah.
But if I have done the LLB without the permission of institute,
Yeah.
then it is a professional misconduct.
Oh my God. No, it is done 16 years or 20 years ago when I had taken LLB. I don't know whether it can be rectified. That's what I'm saying. LLB was taken 16 years ago.
Sir, you can be only in one capacity. Either you are a CA or you are advocate. Both
No,
you can do simultaneously.
No, I am not practicing. Can I mention that the qualification in the visiting card?
If you have taken permission from the institute, then.
Only then. Okay.
I think the questions are over.
Yes, yes. I think the questions are ever. Some Padmanabhan has raised hand. Who is the Padmanabhan?
Padmanabhan.
I am the Padmanabhan. Already my question is over.
Okay.
Thank you.
So now I think we have in a short span of time. It is in a short span of time. It was just an overview because 1 hour entire code of ethics cannot be learned. But I will request you to go to the Ethical Standard Board website. All the 3 books are there, and please download. And if you go through, it's a very nicely written book now in a section wise, heading wise, subject wise. All sorts of search functions are also there. So that will help you to discharge your audit and attest function in your professional capacity. Thank you very much to the chairman, secretary, and Babu sir for giving a patient listening, and all the members, senior members, for giving me a chance to share my thought process.
It was very good, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Sir, thank you very much. We had a wonderful speech by you. Thank you very much. We understood a lot of things.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And in this occasion, I thank Babu Abraham, sir, for arranging such a great faculty for us for the day. And we are really enlightened by the speech. And I invite Mr. Cherianji Samuel to say the vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir. We are very much thankful to CA Ranjeet Kumar Agarwal, the Central Council member from Eastern Region, for your insightful session on the Code of Ethics. Thank you, sir, for your valuable time and effort. We are extremely thankful to Babu, sir, our own Central Council member, for your time and presence in all our activities. He has been an instrumental to the branches to get apt faculties while planning the sessions. Once again, thank you, sir, for your support.
Thank you.
We have started the condolence meeting by remembering our senior member, CPE Credit. Let us follow the good path and principles shown by him during his lifetime. Through that, he will always be remembered among us. We are thankful to our senior member, CA Pankaj Govind, our past chairman, CA Jose Sakria, and past chairman, CA Alex Kuriakos, for the good words. Thank you all for joining us with this program. Take care, and thank you once again.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.